Today I'm going to teach you about something that's very important in LD, and that thing is called flowing. And to teach flowing, I have to show you like how to write stuff on what we call a flow pad, which is basically a legal pad, which I have here. So you're probably looking at this and you're probably really confused, like what is this? So let me explain. So before I get to all this, you might be wondering, in a debate round, how do we keep track of all the arguments that are going back and forth? The AF is talking, the neg is talking, there's a lot of things going on. So we got to write the arguments down, right? Or we're going to lose track of them. We can't just remember them in our head. People have tried to do that, by the way, and it ends very badly. So we have to write the arguments down. We have to write down what the opponent says in his speech. We have to write down what we're going to say in our next speech during prep time. And then when we're up there at the podium, we have to read off that sheet of paper what we're going to say, so we remember what our arguments are that we have to, give in front of the judge. So in debate, this process of writing everything down is called flowing. Why is it called flowing? It's called flowing because it helps us keep track of the flow of all the arguments in the round. And it's also called flowing in another way, which we'll see soon, because you write the arguments across this way. It flows from the left to the right. So why do we need to flow? Why do we need to use this thing and write stuff on it? We need to flow so we don't miss any arguments, because if you try to keep track of it all in your head, you can't. You cannot keep track of all this in your head. Just take it from me right now. Many people have tried, they've all failed. You cannot keep track of it in your head, at least not until you've had many years of experience. I've had many years of experience and I still use this. So you need this to keep track of everything, to make sure you don't miss any arguments. And it also gives you a chance to write down your response to an argument in a nice, organized fashion. And it provides an organized way also to look back and remember the round later. So anyway, to flow, we need a flow pad. This is a flow pad, this yellow sheet of paper. It's basically a legal pad, okay? Just use a legal pad, or I'm not sure if this is a legal pad. I don't know what this is. It has a ring. But anyway, it's some kind of thing. You can use most people use a legal pad. You can use anything that's kind of like this. Doesn't matter, just as long as there's a flat, long piece of paper. The longer, the better, I guess. Okay, so the legal pad, or the notebook, is split into 5 columns, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 columns. 1 column for each speech in the round. 1 column for the affirmative constructive. 1 column for the negative constructive. And the first negative rebuttal is also at the end of that. So maybe I'll write that too, the first negative rebuttal. Or just the neg case, which would make this the second negative rebuttal. Yeah, that's what they call it. First affirmative rebuttal. I don't know why I made this so narrow. It should be wider. Second negative rebuttal. Second affirmative rebuttal. I don't know why I made this so wide. It should be narrower. Okay, so this is how it works. You write the arguments that were given in a speech in the correct column. So for every argument, you write it in the correct column according to the speech it was given in. For example, say that I make an argument in the first affirmative rebuttal, okay? So any arguments that are given in the first affirmative rebuttal in that speech, they go here. So say in the first affirmative rebuttal, I argued that Bob likes hot dogs. So then in the 1AR column, I might write Bob likes hot dogs, okay? Bob likes hot dogs. All right, if I give a speech in the second negative rebuttal, I write it here. So say the negative argues Kim likes hot dogs. So I might write Kim likes hot dogs, okay? So that's how it works. We write the arguments, just write them in the correct column, okay? So you want to label these. All right. Now, there's a special trick for arguments that are responses to other arguments. If you're writing an argument that is a response to an earlier argument, you draw an arrow from the original argument into the next column, and that arrow points to the response. So let me show you what I mean. Say that AF says Bob likes hot dogs, okay? That's the AF argument. Neg wants to argue, no, he does not. Bob does not like hot dogs. So he's going to respond, the neg is going to respond in this speech to the AF's argument by drawing a line, an arrow from here to here, okay? And he says, no, Bob does not like hot dogs. Bob does not like hot dogs. He likes bacon. Okay? So what's this mean? This means that the AF argued Bob likes hot dogs. This arrow means that this is a response to that. And since this is in the second negative rebuttal, this means that first affirmative rebuttal, AF said Bob likes hot dogs. Second negative rebuttal, the neg responded to this argument with this argument that no, Bob does not like hot dogs, okay? And then, if the AF wants to respond again, he can say, yes, he does. Okay, and so we have that arrow system. That's how we keep track of responses, okay? That's how we keep track of responses in the rounds. So whenever an argument is a response, you're gonna write an arrow like that, okay? So what you want to do is, while your opponent is talking, giving his speech, you want to write down his arguments. So as the affirmative is talking, all the negative is doing is writing stuff here. Affirmative is talking, blah, 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 all during the first affirmative rebuttal. First affirmative rebuttal ends, neg starts prep time. During prep time, neg thinks of responses he's going to make in his speech against all this. So he might say, well, my response against this is going to be blah, blah, blah. My response against this is going to be blah, blah, blah. My response against this is going to be blah, 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 blah. Okay? So that's not too hard. You use arrows, and then, you keep using arrows for every responses. If for some reason something just comes up out of nowhere that's not a response to anything, just write it. So like, this is not a response. This is not a response. So say this represents an argument that is not a response. Just write it. No arrows pointing to it. There can be arrows pointing from it if, say, AF responds to it over here. I don't know. Yeah. Also, notice there's not a lot of space on this flow pad. Do not flow every word that your opponent's saying. You are not trying to dictate his whole entire speech. You're just kind of writing an outline. Just get all the important stuff. So like the hook, you want to get in one sentence. The value, just briefly, the criterion, the tags of the contentions, and the names of the examples. Those are the main things you need. I'll put that on the screen. The hook, the value, the criterions, the contention tags, the name of the examples at minimum. And use shorthand, okay? So you can shorten or abbreviate, of course. So like instead of saying free trade and spelling out free trade, I might write something like FRT. Turd. Fur turd, sure. And fair trade, oh, they both have an R. All right, okay. Well, okay, we'll write out free, but maybe free T and fa T. You get the point. You can use abbreviations for your words. You don't have to write everything out, and you should also write down the logic and warrants that your opponent uses to support their points. So, if they give a contention one, something with an example, and you want to write down kind of the logic, but you're making an outline, okay? Everything you're writing here, it's not word for word, it's just an outline, just enough so that you remember what they're saying, all right? That's what you want to do. You don't have a lot of space. All right, for the cases, a lot of people don't understand this at first, but when the affirmative is giving his affirmative case, okay, so first of all, you might be wondering why there's these two lines here. I drew these lines, okay, right? The affirmative case, you flow in the upper left, okay? You do not flow it down here. I will show you why not in a minute, but you flow it up here, okay? Not here, here. So you might say hook, Reagan quote, because everyone uses Reagan quotes. Value, human rights, because everyone runs a value of human rights too. Notice how I abbreviated human rights as HR. Contention 1, human rights are awesome. This guy should really change his tags. Yeah. Example, life. We are all alive. I don't know. All right. So, right, that's the AF case. Now, the neg case does not go in the upper section. It goes in the lower section. So, hook. Analogy. Value. Quality of life. Abbreviated QOL. Convention 1. Blah, blah, blah. Why do we do it this way? You might be wondering why. I'll show you why. Because remember, when you're writing a response, right, to an argument, you write a straight arrow this way, right? If the neg case were up here, what would happen? Then the responses to the affirmative case would flow into the negative case, and you'd be writing everything on top. You'd be writing the responses. The neg would have to write the responses to the AF case on top of their own case. That's not good, right? So the AF case is here so that the responses to the AF case can go here. So the responses are here. Neg case is here. And then as we continue going across, nothing bumps into each other. It's all just this one line, okay? So it starts out AF, neg, whoa, it just streams across the whole page. Whereas if the neg case was here, then you would have AF, neg, whoa, everything's on top of each other and it's one huge mess and I can't read anything and nothing's written on the bottom of the page. So you write the AF case on the top, you write the neg on the bottom. Then you have this extra space here. What's this for? It's for whatever you want. Some people just leave it blank. What I like to do is I like to write my cross-X questions in there. So we're going to go over cross-X in the next section. But basically cross-X, you're asking questions to your opponent. While you're hearing their case, you can start to think of questions while you're hearing their case, and you can write them here. So like cross-X questions I'm going to ask. And you could ask things like, say you're neg and you're asking cross-X questions of the AF, right? Is life a human right? Another question. Okay, that's my suggestion, or you can just leave this blank. Some people have a little notepad that they also hold, like a small one in their hand that they write their cross-X questions on, and that's cool too. But yeah, that's why we write the AF case up here and the neg case down here, so that the AF case takes up this half and the neg stuff takes up this half, whereas if it were all in one, everything would be a huge mess, and it's just more organized this way. All right, and remember, another common mistake people make is when they're flowing responses to this, they go like this. I'm going to respond to the analogy. Whoop! And they write the response all the way up here. No, that defeats the purpose. Your arrows should be straight lines to the right. Straight lines to the right, not diagonal rights up. Because again, if you write the response to the analogy up here, it's going to crash into the responses to the AF case from over here, right? And then there's going to be a collision here, and it's just going to be one jumbled mess. So I think you get the idea, so I'll stop going over this. All right, one last thing. Pre-flow your own case. So what do I mean by that? This is starting to get messy, so let's go to another page. I should have pre-written this beforehand. I'm just going to make lines. By the way, this is how you make a flow pad. You just make lines, draw stuff on it. Okay, so I could even write this line. You can do that too if you want. So then all the AF stuff is up here and all the neg stuff's there. All the stuff from the AF case is here and all the stuff from the neg case is here. I mean, doesn't matter. Okay, when say you're AF, before the round starts, you want to pre-flow your own case. So write down your hook, right? Write down your value, write down what it is, write down all that stuff. Pre-write your own case into the flow. And the reason for that is so you don't waste time writing it in the middle of the round. It saves time and it's better. Otherwise, what's going to happen? The neg's going to start attacking your case. He's going to say, the Reagan quote is bad. Human rights is bad. And all of a sudden, you're going to be like, wait, I'm writing these arrows, but there's nothing to start the arrow on, right? Because if you don't pre-flow your case, this stuff isn't here. It's just blank. And then the neg starts attacking your case, saying, I'm going to attack his criterion now. Uh-oh, your criterion isn't written down here. Now you have to waste time writing it down. And by the time you're done, the neg's done with his argument, you don't know what he said. And now there's this big empty space on your flow, and you can't respond to that. And that's not good. So that's why you want to pre-flow your own case. Write your own case in. Same thing for neg. AF case here, neg case here. You get the idea. All right. And to get your flow pad, just get a legal pad from an office store and write these lines with a pen on your own and label it in this way. There are fancier ways too. You can buy flow books from places like Monument Publishing has some, but this is the easiest way, the most common way, and probably the cheapest way. So that pretty much covers flowing. So I will see you in the next video.